All right. So that was awesome. Now we can get to some wine because I'm beyond thirsty and beyond hungry at this point. So I'm going to bring Ian in and I can get set up for him in 2 seconds because come on in, bud. Oh, look at the bottle. See, look at all these bottles. This is my kind of like, look at this. So I went from being starving about food to looking at all these great, amazing bottles. Wow. We got height here. Look at this. Ian, you went shopping.
You can't start out a party without some champagne either, right?
Good to see you. Thank
Good
you
to
very
see you
much
as
for
well.
making it. I
Pleasure,
appreciate
pleasure.
it. And I made sure because I knew he was
Oh, you use regular
talking about.
glasses.
Look at, I got these. I got everything. I made sure that I stocked up for us.
Whatever you prefer. I prefer my champagne personally.
In a wine glass?
Yeah.
Oh, good, because these
More
glasses are too small
more
for me.
aromatics and
Too small. All right. So, first of all, Ian, I have to say, we got to talk a little about your background before we get into all of this amazing wine because I've had the privilege to talk to various sommeliers throughout the country, you know, traveling, being in Rhode Island, and it's very, very good to see that more and more people are getting involved and doing what you're doing. How long has it been that you've had your degree now?
So I passed my certified sommelier certification in 2009, actually February of 2009. So going on, what's that?
Oh God, so going on 8 years, 9 years, something like that?
I've been applying for the advanced sommelier exam, which I just have to finish my application actually this evening, as it's due on Friday, to see if I get accepted this year.
So now what does that mean, the advanced degree? What does that mean?
So advanced sommelier is level 3, or the 3rd level. If anyone's seen the movie Somm, everyone in the movie at that point is pretty much at advanced level. And then the next level will be master, which you have to be invited in on based on your scores prior to other exams and everything else.
So this is something that, I mean, it's a process to get this education and get this knowledge. And the first one that you took, you studied for a while and were at it for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on and off studying, and I say off as in traveling is kind of like studying at the same time, for better part of 12, 14, maybe 15 years now. I started at Johnson & Wales when I realized, wait, I can get a degree and a minor in this and make it a thing. So I ended up minoring in international hospitality and minored in beverage service management, which was just kind of like the second catalyst. The first catalyst was kind of just the lifestyle of growing up from the European father and Italian descent mother from the Bronx, and kind of wine and beverages and stuff
Nothing
like
wrong with
was
that.
totally around. So with my Greek and Italian heritage kind of goes hand in hand with wine on the table. So
Those are two nice combinations. We like Greek and Italian. So Ian has a wonderful reputation throughout the state, and not just the state, throughout New England, is that I've worked with him for more years than I can count. We've known each other from when I owned my restaurants to when I have clients that have restaurants. And Ian's knack is that not only is he passionate about these wines, but he can refer and suggest and train and talk. So talking in his case is a good thing because when he trains these people to go, you have to bring things down to educate us, and not just us as customers, but think about when you're going out. So whether you're going to a wine shop and purchasing for the holidays, or you're going to have dinner at a restaurant. I mean, there's more restaurants that I've seen in a long time that are actually doing Thanksgiving. I know Massimo on the Hill is. I know there's a whole bunch of others that have got these Thanksgiving things, and people like you are able to come in and train the staff to give people
Absolutely.
recommendations. And
absolutely,
I think, you know,
that's where the fun part of the job is.
right, exactly. I agree with you. And I think that it's evolved, and I say this on a regular basis, that people are enjoying wine more, but also becoming more educated and understanding what they really enjoy. And that's kind of where we wanted to go today, was to talk about the varieties of things that he brought in, and the taste, the profiles of what you can eat them with, because there's different myths on what you can have white wine with, what you can have red wine with. I kind of break all those rules, and then the different price points of stuff that's out there. But Ian, you've traveled all over the place, right?
Yeah, I've covered Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere with wines. I've been to Argentina twice and Chile twice. I've been to Greece. God, I can't count how many times I've been to Greece. And in the last 2 trips over there have recently becoming first name basis with a number of winemakers in Santorini and all over northern Greece and in the Peloponnesos as well. I've been to France. I've been to Germany. I've been to Italy.
All this to taste wine.
Yeah,
Nothing wrong with that,
I
right?
spit every once in a while.
But the amount of people that you're meeting just increases your knowledge and increases your opportunity. I mean, you have to say, you, after all the places you've been and the people you met, you would encourage people to travel and try and do these things and check this
Absolutely.
out, right?
And each region for its own different beauties, be it the food and cuisine, be it the cultures that are around, be it the excitement of people, just be it the people themselves and the character and the colorful nature that some of these winemakers definitely are. Artists, and they view themselves as more of an artist, like the way you might find someone that graduates RISD and is like, oh, I'm all about, how they have their very artistic sides to them. Many of these winemakers, this is their art.
Right.
The same way a chef is the plating with the tweezers and the nice spoons and all the
Right.
beautiful plate designs and everything else. It's art, and and that's why it's called culinary arts, I think.
That's right. I agree.
So there's a beautifulness of it all.
And your MS Walker, who you're with, has been a distributor in Rhode Island for a long time now. Brett Allen and his father, the founders there. And Brett's been a very supportive person, been great. The Countess that we had on a couple weeks ago.
I've also been to her property as well. It's a privilege to have dinner
I
with
can't
her
wait to
here.
go there. I've got this standing invitation. I can't wait to get over there. But she was someone that her wines are distributed with you. It seems like a lot of the wines that you guys are a part of represent have a lot more of that family art profile,
A bit,
right?
But yeah, I mean, we obviously every distributor has to pay the bills and keep lights on. So there's certain bigger brand names and things that keep the lights on and turn and burn, so to say, lack of a better term. But there's other things that are more of a hand sell and more of an artisan and smaller production, lower yields, and those are the things I think myself and other salesmen kind of get excited about to sell,
Right.
and or our customers get excited to talk about when they get in there and meet the winemakers, like when my friend Dean Hewitson was here
He was great
not too
too.
long ago.
That's
either.
right.
His things are a little more small handcrafted, smaller production. You need an extra second to talk about them. Where there's other wines that they sell themselves, and nothing against them, but kind of like you think of Cabernet from California. There's certain names that just jump out of your
Right.
mouth without even thinking about it.
And that's good, but I think that, so you brought up Dean and we talked about the Countess, two great guests that we've had in the past, that those smaller productions, and I think that it's a balance. I think it's a nice balance to be able to try to understand the smaller productions along with the larger ones that you're kind of more used to. So this kind of makes you more adventurous and going out and trying these things. So
And within that, there is a mix of some smaller and larger producers in here. Nothing here is on the sort of big, truck, paint the side of a truck kind of brands here, but
Okay.
all of these are, one of the oldest family-owned wineries in the world is with Hugh Gell here. You have a good friend of mine, Thomas, who works at the Nomad, who's one of the head somms over there with Empire State up in the Finger Lakes. Raj Parr here, who's with Michael Mina Restaurant Group and has been the beverage director from him. Great book he wrote was called Secrets of the Sommelier. Not to give away our secrets, but if you want to learn about our world,
I'll take
just
the
check out the
secrets.
books.
So I'm going to do a lot of tasting while I let Ian do some explanations here, but kind of what I wanted to do was give us an overview of some things that would be great, not just for Thanksgiving, but like I said, leading into Christmas, leading into New Year's. I know that I have dozens of celebrations that take place from Friday all the way up till Christmas Day, where I'm going out, trying, eating, lunch, dinners, people's houses, gifts, that kind of stuff. So I wanted to kind of just give a general overview of some nice options and things that are out there that you may or may not have had before. But first of all, cheers to you and thank you
Cheers.
for making this happen today. And what am I tasting here?
So what we have here is du Valois. This is from the town of Vertu. Vertu is the largest Premier Cru property, or actually region in the region of Champagne. Really nice, kind of a little bit yeasty. Actually, fun fact about them also is the first ever chef de cave that was a female was in 1996 in the region of Champagne and works for du Valois and still is the chef de cave. Chef de cave is another term for cellar master or the person who is in charge of all the winemaking. So kind of a little fun fact there. They also make a beautiful rosé. I just kind of figured I had another rosé we would talk about, but sparkling rosé is great. I thought for multiple reasons. One, you're with family. What's not to celebrate about? Maybe it's someone recently got engaged or is about to propose at dinner, or maybe someone just had a kid, or someone just found out they're going to have kids.
A lot of that happens in the next couple of weeks.
There's also this thing called New Year's Eve that
Yeah.
sometimes happens, and we drink a lot of champagne. And I trust me, it's not the glass of champagne that gave you the hangover; it's the entire bottle or two you drank yourself. But that being said, great value champagne here. Not to say anything against some of the bigger houses. This is a medium-sized house. But for the same price, I think you get a better quality, more attention to detail champagne here than you do get some of those bigger houses that we know, like Moet or
Right.
Pommeret or Veuve Clicquot. This is a great value, where you can put real champagne on your kitchen table for when you have guests over or whatever.
This is easy drinking
Around
too. A lot of the
$45
champagnes
$45 a
$40,
bottle,
$45.
depending on what it is. I mean, and it's a lot better. It's all Premier Cru fruit, which is a different designation. Obviously, there's just general village level fruit, which is considered really good. Then there's Premier, which is the step up, and then you have Grand Cru fruit, which is considered to be the best. And this is all Premier Cru and Grand Cru fruit, driven mostly on Chardonnay, mostly on Pinot Noir. I stand corrected. Vertu is a region that is mostly known for Chardonnay, but this producer does more Pinot Noir and a little Pinot Meunier with their Chardonnay.
Extremely easy drinking. Like a lot of Chardonnays I have that you got to get past the dryness at first when you put them in. This is extremely easy drinking Chardonnay or champagne.
Oh, the acid's beautiful on it as well.
That's
Really
excellent.
fresh. So there's also the other reason is with Thanksgiving approaching, as in tomorrow. Many people like to fry turkeys too, and
Yep.
honestly, I'm a culprit of eating fried chicken and champagne a lot, or potato chips.
There you go.
And
Champagne and potato chips. I gotta try that one.
yeah,
That's
it's
pretty good.
really great. Late night snacks with, like when you get home really late, you got half a bottle in your fridge.
I'm okay with that.
But
What else we got here?
so as in keeping with the idea of kind of like a aperitif or kind of like a welcome glass of wine or a little spritz or something or sort of a cocktail wine, I threw a wine here by Michel Chapoutier's daughter. This is Mathilde Chapoutier. It's a rosé from Provence, and just rosé being popular as much as it has been, it's actually, I kind of say it's its own category at this point. Provence is really well known. This is a rosé that's still available. There's many great rosés, but a lot of them seem to disappear off the market unless you buy a little extra before August, because most people don't think about it.
So that's what I was just going to say. So rosés are still wonderful to drink all year long. People
Absolutely.
think that it has to be a summer thing, and
No.
this giant big deal gets made about rosé when it comes out in April, May, or whatever. But I've had rosé in the middle of the winter in London.
I mean, I love rosé, even around Christmas with ham. I mean, I think it's great. There's, depending on what the rosé is, but that like saltiness of the ham and the freshness, or even with champagne for that matter too. But I mean, obviously some people aren't as traditional. But rosé, I mean, who doesn't love walking into a house or a party and say, oh, here's a glass of pink juice. You're like, oh yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I love that. And there's also a little bit more body to a rosé sometimes that gives you a little bit more versatility than just a simple white wine when you're bouncing before different small plates from, be it, pigs in a blanket, as my mom loved to make when we were little, and I love them, versus stromboli on the Italian side, versus like little keftedes, which are like little Greek meatballs and
Ian's got the
beef
food
steaks, like or spinach pies or whatever. It has a versatility because of its structure, which I think is really pretty.
So what would something like this, again, a range, I'm just looking out there for the retail stuff that's on the side of things.
Low 20s.
It's
Incredibly. Majority of the stuff here is in the high teens to mid 20s. The highest price thing was champagne. Obviously, we expect champagne to be a little bit more, but
so you're going in with everything that's affordable. So it's in ranges that are out there, especially when not just drinking and enjoying like Ian's talking about, but gift giving. Educating your friends and family and giving gifts. I mean, I probably give away a few cases of wine every year as gifts. So that was excellent. I actually think about that, having that with my antipasto.
Exactly, something along those lines.
All right.
Figure we can bounce around a little bit of Riesling,
Sure.
which is a little traditional. I'll do my friend Thomas's
It's the
Riesling.
Finger Lakes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And actually, fun
upstate New
fact-
York, see?
If anyone's ever seen the I Love New York logo, the gentleman who designed the I Love New York logo designed that
You're
label as well
kidding
for
me.
them. Yeah, he's so apparently the gentleman who is the designer. His name escapes me at the moment. I'm sure.
I think we have it here because I think he did some work in Rhode Island, so I think it was a little bit of different work
Fair
there in
enough.
Rhode Island.
But I guess he was a regular at the Nomad Hotel where Tom works, and they had kind of struck a chord of conversation when telling him about the wine brand, and next thing you know, there's a label for them. So
This is a Riesling?
this is a Riesling. So I went a little dry here on this first Riesling here. I figured, this is probably, mid, low 20s. I'd say anywhere from $20 to $23 probably on the shelf, maybe 19 depending on the store you're at. But it's really mineral driven, and it's really, really hard acid. He goes for more of what is called the Austrian style, or slightly Alsatian,
Okay.
where there's a lot more lean and a lot more mean. And for me, I think this is like, if you're doing maybe not an oven roasted chicken, but maybe that fried chicken again, or maybe you're doing an oven roasted chicken with a lot of herbs, but you're not having heavy sauces on the side, or the heavy, stuffings and stuff like that. You need something that's a little bit leaner.
So when the tips that he's giving, and just talking about the having with chicken, you talk about the rosé with the ham, even the champagne with potato chips. When you're out there and you're training people and you're going through the things, and it's not just staff trainings that he does in restaurants. Ian is at every major wine dinner I can think of. I see him at every food and wine festival out there. You're providing that knowledge to people, and do you find that that's probably one of the biggest questions people ask, is how to pair it up with something?
That's one of them. Or they usually ask me what your best wine on the table is, and then I'm saying, well, that's not a question for me to answer. It's a question for you to decide.
Right.
I'm like, well, I don't know what the best wine. Everyone always wants the best wine, but what the best wine is, I think that's sort of subjective. I really strongly believe you need to trust your own palate at the end of the day. So with that being said, I typically will revert back to a question back to people who saying, well, what do you normally drink? And just find out what kind of wines they drink, and then I'll look to see what I have on the table that makes sense. Or I'll ask them how they take their coffee, and just kind of
Really?
dissect their palate based on, do they want sweet, do they want dry, do they want bitter as in tannin, not dry as in like the wine itself is dry.
I did
Do
not
they
think
add
about that.
they add a little cream to it? Okay, great, you're activating a lactic component. Now maybe I'm looking for a wine that has malolactic fermentation, which is kind of, if you don't know what that is, check out a glass of milk. That's that's lactic acid.
Yeah.
Bite into an apple, that's malic acid. So malolactic is converting the apple kind of acidity into
Yeah.
the this acidity that's perceived more like a glass of milk.
And I love that part about checking to see what kind of coffee. All right, so I don't want to run out of time, so I want to make sure that we cover a couple more of these here.
There's two other Rieslings that I put out here while I'm pouring the Chardonnay. The Hugel Gentil is a blend of 4 different noble varietals of Alsace. It's a great crowd-pleasing, easy drinking kind of thing. And one thing I always have been asked also when it comes to party planning is like, how many bottles should I buy? What should I get? And my answer is, whatever's most comfortable for you and your budget. You know, I always kind of err on the side when I'm planning for bringing wines to a party is, all right, if I'm planning on spending this, let's say I'm spending on $100 to spend for wine for the night, I'll buy maybe 3 or 4 bottles that are a price point lower that I want, so I can spend $1, $2, $4, or $5 more on a wine that's a little bit more expensive to have at the dinner, at the actual on the table.
I agree with that.
It's kind of like the reception wine or the cocktail wine. So this would make a great versatile cocktail wine, sort of like the rosé would, on a little bit of a sweeter level, not overly sweet. Again, not all Rieslings are sweet, but with more sweetness and unctuous than the Empire Estates. I brought Nick Weiss's Ockfenner Bockstein Kabinett, which is a whole lot
of... You can say all that, I can't say it.
It's a whole lot of German for most people, but basically it is 100% Riesling from the Mosel, a little bit on the drier side for their style, being that it's Kabinett.
And the profiles you're talking about for Riesling, so going from sweet to dry to kind of the in-between, I now found that I started liking sweet, and now I've switched over to dry, kind of an elevation to do it, but there's, again, all different ways to try it. Now, what you just poured is amazing. What did you just pour?
So that's Santi Chardonnay. It's not your typical California Chardonnay. I mean, yes, it is from California, but if I was for a wine exam, this I don't think would be a wine that someone would pour me as indicative to California. Raj is a huge fan of Burgundy and spends a lot of time in Burgundy, and with that, he here implements a lot of the Burgundian winemaking styles in the Santa Rita Hills. And this is in Santa Barbara. So the idea here was, everyone loves Chardonnay. It's one of the number 1 most sold wines in the world, varietal-wise. And, people always want to have Chardonnay or will drink it with whatever they want. But if you're going to have something on the holiday table, too much oak sometimes will disrupt your pairing and your palate and everything else. So I went with something that has a nice, light, well-integrated touch of oak, and also a lower alcohol level here. We're at 12.5% alcohol here, where most California wines are going to be 13.5.
You might see me taking a picture of this at my dinner table, not tomorrow. So you may not go home with it. So we're going to try one more, but then we got to end for the day because we've had an amazing lineup, and Ian had brought amazing amount of wine. So one last quick one. Which one do you think we should do?
Let's go with Côte de Pie.
Sounds
this
good
is
to me.
from Beaujolais. As everyone may know, last Thursday was the launch of Beaujolais Nouveau.
Yep.
But Beaujolais also has 10 crus, which are considered to be their 10 better sites of locations for wine. So I chose to go with Morgon. I find Morgon or Fleury to be very great, versatile crus from Beaujolais. And, there's a light, more cranberry note to that than Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir for me is a little bit more cherry, a little bit more pomegranate, where Gamay has a lot more of that cranberry. So playing off those flavors, it is a red wine. You could put a subtle chill on. So I would say when the bird's coming out of the oven, throw the red wine if you're pouring some Beaujolais or Gamay.
Turkey.
Oh, absolutely. And put a little chill on it. It gives you a little bit more fruit, a little bit.
See, and I like to do that with a little chill. So what we're going to do, because I want to make sure everybody sees these, we're going to take a great picture of these. I'm going to make sure all these up on social media. We'll tag some of them on our social media, but I want to thank Ian for making the time and coming in, because it's a busy time to get ready for Thanksgiving tomorrow. You're a class act. Thank you for being a good friend, and thank you for being here today with me.
Happy to be here.
So as we wrap up, I just want to say it's been an awesome segment, having Lydia, having Linky, having Ian. I want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. Enjoy your time with your family and your friends. We'll see you next Wednesday here on The Taste. I'm Rick Simone. Thank you for